Jenkins of On the Hill Media and voice of Fayetteville High Bulldogs Athletics. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's On the Hill Media. Make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. As we say, let's get it. Hey guys, this is Pat Jenkins of On the Hill Media and voice of Fayetteville High Bulldogs Athletics. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's On the Hill Media. Make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. As we say, let's get it.
And have a good week next week, moving on. But very disappointed. I felt like we had them ready to play. Obviously, that wasn't the case.
I was going to ask, you said you felt like you had them ready to play, but was there any indications that something like this was coming? They set several records.
No. I mean, we had a really good week of practice, as good as we've had. So, no, I didn't go into the game feeling. I felt like we had some matchup problems, but I thought we had some answers with it, and we were in three deep, and they ran by us. And we were in man, but we were in three deep, and they ran by us too. So, couldn't get pressure on the quarterback, couldn't get there either. And so when we're in man to man against some of their receivers that they had, Watkins specifically, we were having a hard time guarding him.
Surprised at all that Dart stayed in so long? I mean, they're throwing 4 verts up 32 on you guys.
No, I mean, I don't. No, I mean, Lane. I don't have a problem with Lane or what he did. I don't know if they were trying to get him a record or what the case is, but I don't have a problem with how the game went, except for we have an opportunity to stop him, and we couldn't.
Sam, I know everybody and y'all know that Ole Miss likes to attack you deep, but did it surprise you at all how much they did? I mean, it was early and often as well. Did it surprise you how much they stretched the field on you?
Well, I mean, they were having success with it. I mean, I think in 3 plays they had 2 go routes for touchdowns on us. So, no, it didn't surprise us. We'd been working go balls all week, but we felt like they would do it. We felt like they'd run the hitch, go hitch, go hitch. Felt like they'd try to attack us like LSU did in their own way of offense, and they did.
An update on Talon and kind of what went the decision to go to Malachi in the second half.
Talon, he came back when he got hurt, and then we worked on him at half. We didn't know coming out of half if he would be ready to play.
And welcome in here live.
Once we got
Southern Kitchen located here on MLK at 2190 MLK Boulevard. It's talking season, and boy, do we have some interesting conversation today. Interesting conversation. No need to wait around. Chime in on what you thought about the 63-31. Whatever that was, it certainly wasn't a football game that if you're a Razorback fan, you enjoyed watching. But what were your thoughts? I mean, what are your concerns going forward? A lot of the chatter, and we all knew after that game that it was going to be back on SP, the hot seat. Is it even hotter now? Or, I mean, how much blame do you take and put on the players? And also, too, is now what you see through Ole Miss, does that, help you understand just how important the NIL dollars are? Because it sure as hell opened my eyes to just how much of a great football team. You looked out there and you saw guys on that defensive line that you saw playing in the playoffs last year. I mean, you saw guys on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that was a highly, highly acquired team in the NIL. That's what I can say. And, I mean, I'm telling you, fan base, we're going to talk about it, and we left upset. But if you don't understand now just how important the NIL and how much your help is, I mean, this is what you're going to be. You're going to leave many, many more times leaving Donald W. very pissed off, just to be quite obvious.
And, Pat, I don't think it's just NIL itself. I think it's who's the driver of the NIL ship. And prime example is Coach Prime, and you get a Lane Kiffin, guys that have programs with a lot of NIL money. But when you look at these coaches, they've been there and done that. When they have NIL as a coach itself. I remember when Lil Wayne was saying things about Lane Kiffin and mentioning him in songs. I remember Lane Kiffin used to always be trending on Twitter. So to me, it not only does it take the money, but it takes coaches that understand how to market it and use the money for the betterment of the team. And I think when you talk about Lane Kiffin and you talk about Coach Prime, those are 2 examples of how they really are in tune with the youth and understand what it really takes to not only use the money but get kids to buy into the football program, along with giving them what they desire to get them that extra inch of motivation.
And I do think, I mean, as we get closer to this revenue sharing, I think you'll see a lot more balance, even with the NIL. I think things will start to balance out as to where, I think Arkansas will become one of those teams that can come and maybe compete on a better level. But right now, I mean, with there being no rules in the NIL, they're not catching up. Man, they are absolutely not catching up.
I saw a stat that somebody posted the other day, and they were talking about Arkansas's recruiting, right? And they were talking about how many stars, 5-star kids were on Ole Miss.
Right.
And honestly, it was about the same. It really didn't vary on stars. To me, now it gets down to, okay, is your assessment of recruiting good? And then 2, are you coaching these kids that are borderline players? Because, again, if you're saying, hey, we have the same amount of 4 stars, you got the same amount of 5 stars, and I come out and dominate you.
Man, I didn't see a lick of urgency in that Arkansas. I mean, you would just think. I mean, like I said, that was another obvious thing to me was Ole Miss played with a lot more urgency and passion from kickoff than this Razorback.
You think Lane Kiffin didn't come down here and tell him, guys, we're not losing here?
I mean, and that's and that's something that just like if you're Arkansas, you're playing to become bowl eligible. I mean, you're playing for maybe not the playoffs, but you're playing for just as much as Ole Miss, and it's a rivalry game, and you know how those games go. And it's just not Ole Miss, but it seems like every time, and it even goes back to Chad Morris and Brett Bielema. Arkansas plays here at home. They don't show up.
It goes back to who's leading.
It's like there's a bugaboo in that
It's
stadium
not,
for
Pat.
their own home team.
It's not. It goes back to who's leading the ship. When you go out with guys that haven't been used to being in those positions, you're talking about coaches that don't have a lot of head coach experience. Even when you do go back to John L., I mean, yeah, he had coaching experience, but he hadn't had coaching experience at a major college, and then not only that, he didn't win at a major college. So again, you can say, how are these guys showing up? And it's like, okay, look who's leading the troops. You got to look at who's leading the troops, man. You can't ask why are your Warriors not ready to fight, and you have to look at the leader. Is the leader doing what's needed to get these guys ready to fight?
I think they prepare these kids well. Man, Saturday just baffled me. It baffled me, and I'm not gonna say it was. It was a bad offensive line day. It was a bad defensive line day. It was an absolutely horrific, and I'll go back and say the worst I've seen in either watching or covering this Razorback program in all my years of being here in the Northwest Arkansas area. The worst secondary day I've seen. For 4 or 5 guys, or however many guys played secondary, I mean, it was a group played very, very bad. And if I'm an athlete, I mean, now this is where you're going to find out what you're made of. I mean, this is where you got to check yourself. You got to have your own self-reflection, self-evaluation. And are you playing to play or are you playing for NIL dollars? I mean, which one is this? Because right now, and it seems to me, and I'm not just going to say it's all about just Arkansas. I think right now kids nowadays in college football, in college athletics, play more of the dollar than for the craft is what I think. And I think you get that throughout. I mean, that's why I like so much what Rhett Lashley at SMU they do. They give you $35,000, everybody. Now, what you do on the NIL side is up based on what you do, and it's a performance-based. I mean, you got to go out and create your own, but they give each and every individual $35,000, so we don't have anybody sitting there with any hate in their heart.
I'm going to tell you, that works right now because nobody was a superstar on that team. When you have guys, example, we were talking about Fayetteville High School's team, right? We were talking about the basketball team, how sometimes you don't need that star name. You just need guys that buy into the program. Right. I think that's what you're seeing down there at SMU. You don't have those big, notable, highly recruited kids down there. So everybody's like, man, we have to build our NIL. We have to build our name, image, and likeness. Yeah. We have to win to do that, and I think that's the part. But it doesn't come when you're losers. It comes after you've got a little success, and now people are saying, hey, you're a contender for the college playoffs. I think that's when you got to start thinking about NIL.
And at the same time, SMU was one of those programs. They have so much money that they created the penalty, the death penalty when the Pony Express really was dealing out a lot of dollars. And I think that's what, if you're SMU and like people say, go get Rhett Lashley. No. Rhett Lashley's in a very good financial situation with those boosters at SMU. If you go back and look at all of what they have in their budget, what they're able to give, you'll understand. It's not going to be that easy. I mean, I think, and let's be honest, it's a lot easier for Rhett to recruit to SMU being in that area. I mean, hey, you got kids that can be NIL in their area and get them big bucks from those big donors. So, I mean, you got to get in. You got to get in where you fit in.
So I posted a poll today on the On the Hill page. I want to read a couple comments that some people. So the poll question of the day is: how confident are you in the Razorback football coaching staff moving forward? We have a comment from Mr. Bobby Denny. He says, I want to be confident with the coaches, but this is deeper than the coaches. To compete in college football now, we have to pay to play via playing players. It's also about winning now, just recruiting high schools to develop. Nope, it's about the transfer portal. We have to start spending money if we are going to be competitive, period. Now on the coaches, I don't know what to say because the defense should never, ever play that horrible. But yet they did and kept playing like that over and over, and that's on the coaches. Either way, firing or keeping these coaches won't do a thing if we are spending the money on NIL.
Right.
and the transfer portal every
Right.
year. Pat, what's your feedback?
I agree with him. I mean, if you think finding these coaches is going to solve the NIL issue, it doesn't matter. If these coaches don't have the NIL budget, it does not matter what homes or areas that they recruit in. It does not matter right now. And until the NCAA can kind of governize this better and come up with some better rules and situations to do with this NIL, I mean, it's not going to matter. So until you click in as a fan base and realize you're going to have to help get your team over the edge. If you couldn't see that on Saturday, I mean, go back 3-4 years before NIL, would Ole Miss have had the defense and players that they would have attracted? I've been to Oxford.
But Pat,
Come on.
But you got to think, Ole Miss has been competitive since the mid 2000s.
Yes, Ole Miss has decided they're buying in.
No,
they are
because
going to buy in.
I didn't start really watching college ball till I went to Korea. I went to Korea about 05, 06. That's why I'm telling you I know Ole Miss was being competitive because they had – what was the linebacker that they had back then? He went on to play for
Willis.
Patrick Willis.
Patrick
So,
Willis.
like, when you look at Ole Miss has slowly always been in the mix with these last couple of years.
Right.
Even when you talk about blindside and getting those players that now
Right.
they're starting to really bring names because you couldn't really think about anybody but the Mannings and stuff like
Right.
that. But here recently, you've got some in Dichi, was that it?
Yeah, Kim Dichi.
Kim-
Yeah. They paid high dollars for that class. That's the one got Hugh in trouble. That's the class
Absolutely.
got
So
Hugh in
again,
trouble.
when you look at Ole Miss, they've always really wanted to go that extra mile to be
Yeah.
competitive
They bought
and be
in.
and
They
be
have.
right in there with those top because that's how they see themselves.
Because
They-
you got to think about it. They got one of the more higher NIL budgets. I mean, they spend a pretty penny to get to the college playoffs in year one. I mean, they want to be one of the 12, and they're willing to pay for that. And I think, and you just have to face it. I mean, I know we want to talk and talk around it, but you have to pay to be in that big room. You're going to have to buy in, and until the NCAA can regularly, like normalize and come up with some type of governing body with this NIL, you gotta pay to play. You just have to. I mean, it's not any other. There's no other way to say it.
Well, Pat,
Basketball, not so much, but football, you gotta come up with that money.
But that's the thing about competition. It's never meant to be equal. It's never meant to be fair. You're always looking for that extra egg that you can get that another university won't have on you. So I don't ever think it'll be on a platform where, hey, all things being equal, everybody has the even base to be successful. It's never going to be like that.
No, you got to buy in. I mean, you got to make a decision. Either you want in or you don't.
And
I mean,
Arkansas
make a
has to
decision.
buy in their own way because I don't think we can compete in the same manner as some of these other schools. One, by proximity. Even when you look at Ole Miss, you're right there where you can go to Georgia. You're right there where you can go to Florida. You're still in proximity of where you can have fun. Outside of Texas and really Dallas, because even when you throw in Oklahoma City, there's only so much you can do at Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it shot. But Arkansas has been surprised, with what they've been able to do with this staff. I mean, they have
absolutely.
really
But we're talking about compete.
introduced
They're
themselves
still,
better to the South.
Arkansas is still at that bottom middle tier SEC team.
Hey, and I'll say it again, until they buy in,
But
it's going to remain the same. If this weekend hasn't really shown you the difference in buying in and not buying in, there's not much difference with the states of Mississippi and Arkansas as far as the financial or how much money's in that state. It's just the boosters and the state of Mississippi have bought in. They're buying in that they want. They're tired of being right there in the middle, and they're trying to elevate their program. I mean, if you go to a casino, if you want to be in the high-dollar room, you got to pay that high-dollar price. You just can't sit in that room and not have that high-dollar price. So if you want to win the big money, you have to invest big money, and that's if you want the big prize, you're going to have to buy in.
Okay.
That was more evident. I mean, that stood out to me tremendously.
I still think you have to create an environment that makes players want to come here because that's like you saying eventually the money won't be enough because you can pay me all the money if I'm still not happy with where I am and where I'm living and the things that I can do while I'm in
They
town.
do have to get better players. I think that they have to get better. They got to get some dogs. That's the one thing I don't see a whole bunch of. I'm used to growing up in Arkansas and seeing guys wear those jerseys and on them game days like you have in Ole Miss or LSU or those high-ranked teams. Those guys had a pride about playing on their home field, and they got up for those moments. They didn't shy away. Playing at home, when I grew up watching Razorback football, it was tough to win in Fayetteville. Teams and fans, they feared, and coaches, they feared coming to Fayetteville. There's no fear factor coming to Fayetteville, Arkansas anymore. And it hasn't been since, the last days of Houston or Bobby Petrino.
This your guy, one of our guys, loyal listener and avid fan, Dustin Barber says, I personally believe Sam's time here needs to end. He shows zero emotion on the sideline and repeats himself after every loss. Pat, I'll take this one. Hey, Dustin, I'm 100% agree with you. Even listening to Sam, I already knew what he was going to say before the press conference started. Hey, man, Ole Miss played a great game. We tried. Guys didn't see the effort that I would like to see. And it's like, okay, if these are things that you don't like to see, what are you going to do different to change? Because, again, Pat, I said this last week. I said, man, we have yet to win 2 significant games in a row. That was why I didn't pick Arkansas to beat Ole Miss last week when we were picking games. So I'm like, man, they have yet to put 2 back-to-back games together where I'm like, okay, this is the Razorback team that I would like to see. This is a team that I'm excited to say, hey, I covered. But I don't get that. And to me, that's inconsistency from the top down, not bottom up. It doesn't work like that.
I'll continue, and I agree with you a lot, Dustin. But until you buy in with better NIL, it's not going to matter what coach they bring to the University of Arkansas for football. Let's just be blatantly out and out honest. It's not going to matter if your NIL can't match the Ole Miss, LSU, A&M, Alabama, Auburn. It's not going to matter who's here. It boils down to the almighty dollar. But Ole Miss got what they got because they have the almighty dollar. Right. I mean, this was the same Ole Miss defense that Arkansas lost to 27-20, but they went out and paid over almost $20 million in their NIL this season.
But Pat,
those are totally different football players than what I've ever seen them.
But Coach Cal is a prime example of, I don't want to give you the wallet until I know who I'm giving this dollar to knows how to spend it. So it's all about your head coach.
See, I think you can't do that in football. I think you don't have time. You only have to get 15 players, 13 players. You got to come up with 85 in football.
Agree,
so I think you just don't have time to do it.
I agree, but I'm still saying who you go get as the head coach determines how much NIL you have available.
Man.
They're not going to give it to somebody that's not proven.
I think with Arkansas, you have the Tysons, you got the Walmarts, you got the Stevens, you got the right people
involved. It's not their guy, though. It's not their guy.
But I still think it's the outside NIL. I mean, from the people I know inside, it's not the inside money, it's the NIL. There's a lot on the top, on the other side. I mean, that's what I said. NIL is a totally different beast.
But, Pat,
totally different beast.
How can you donate or give to something that you don't believe in? If you don't believe in the coach, what makes you think I want to give you my money?
Well, I'm just telling you, until you buy in, it's not going to matter. You can go get whatever coach, but if you don't buy in. And I think at Arkansas as well as Auburn, these are 2 places, the loyalty with the coaches. I mean, how much time are you willing to give a coach? Because I've seen it Arkansas and Auburn. It ain't very long before they turn on you.
No, it's about 3-4 years.
I mean, you're talking about
you really got about 3-year window.
And that's not going to get it. Arkansas is not a program that you're going to flip. If you don't go all in with that coach as soon as he gets here with the NIL.
And I can agree with that.
You're not going anywhere.
Especially now that it's set, because Sam came in right before it got established.
You're not going anywhere.
But I can't agree.
But they just got their butts kicked Saturday. They got embarrassed. And like I said, Sam can't put competitiveness in your heart. A coach can't teach effort, and he shouldn't have to. That was a lack of effort I saw with that football team. As that game got worse and worse and worse,
I 100%
that's
agree.
not a coaching thing. Now, I can bench you, take your NIL, take your scholarship, but you either have the dog bite or you don't. You're either going to rise up or you won't.
So,
and
Pat,
I think that's what this team didn't do on Saturday.
But again, that's what I'm saying about evaluation and recruiting. This still goes back and boils down to the coaching staff, because the coaching staff is who's recruiting these guys. It's who's doing the evaluation from the transfer portal. It's who's deciding, hey, you should get this NIL and you shouldn't. There still has to be some accountability about who's running this ship, because again, you're doing the hiring and firing. Now, again, you're limited to who you can go hire. I
think you need to set a culture like Cal does. He's got that money, but Cal puts it out there, and it's on national. I mean, it's nationally known.
It's because he's a winner, though.
If this is what you're doing.
But Pat,
you have to find out who's playing for the game and who's playing for the money. I think that's what you have to do now. And in this, you got to find out who's playing for the game and who, because Cal can give anybody anything. Got $5 million and he has that every year. He's trying to find out who's trying to come and ball.
But that's what I'm saying.
Who wants the ball?
The ballers want to come ball for him because he's proven. I know if I come hoop for you, you can get me to the next level. We don't have a head coach in the football side that we can say that. People wanted to come play for Petrino.
Well, it's been that way at Arkansas a lot. Arkansas is just one of the more fickle fan bases. It's always been a place where it's been hard to win. Goes back to Houston Nutt, Hatfield. I mean, even before the NIL. I mean, this is just a place. It's the furthest in the SEC.
No, it's not. Nope. We talked about this.
With the weakest fan base, I believe. I mean, outside of Missouri, you can get anywhere pretty much you want to in the SEC. I mean, outside Arkansas and Missouri, those two outlandish fan bases. Every other school that a kid might go to would be within 2 or 3 hours.
No, you're right about
radius.
that.
And I mean, that's a lot, Now, but what's Missouri? NIL. If Missouri understands that with the distance, they have to come up with the money to shrink that distance. Where kids don't see that, because if you got enough pavement, which is money, that pavement, people can forget about the distance. I think that's where you're
Pat,
at.
do you think it's that big of a gap between Missouri and NIL?
Absolutely.
You really – man, I got to go see this.
Absolutely.
I got to go see – I don't think it's that big of a gap.
I bet you Arkansas don't have anybody on their roster making what Luther Burden is making.
Hold on. Missouri, NIL. Because I got to see this.
They have big – and the main guy is a big ESPN guy, so they got they have a lot of resources at Missouri.
I don't believe Missouri's NIL is topping us that much to where we're talking about them like that.
I mean, you had a $50,000 difference with the kid out of Pine Bluff between Arkansas and Missouri. $50,000 difference. That's crazy. Let's go
see this. I gotta see this. How much is Missouri's NIL budget?
I know Arkansas is barely about. They're not. I don't think Arkansas is at 10. To tell you the truth, I know they're not. At 10. They don't have very much.
They quarterback making $1.2 million.
Who on Arkansas on the football team making 1.2?
You go back. You look at
who on the Arkansas football team?
Nobody this year.
1.2.
But KJ.
How much did Luther Burden make?
KJ was almost making that.
Almost, but we've never had. They've got quarterbacks making 1.2.
Right.
I wonder what Burden's making.
But Pat, look where they went. That's what I'm saying.
But but you're talking about something just 1 year, 2 years ago. That same coach was about to be fired. They have bought in. They're tired of losing. You got to buy in.
Right.
You're going to have to.
But they bought in because they continued to win.
They weren't winning with him. Eli Drinkwitz had 3 consecutive losing seasons. Last year was the hottest coach, went 10 and something. He's out the hot seat. They buy in. They got a taste of that 10-win season.
Exactly.
And what did they do?
That's what I was going to say.
Arkansas got a 9-win season.
And they didn't buy in. And they didn't buy in.
So that's where we go. It goes back to you have to buy in, people. If you don't buy in, you're not going to win.
But even when you go back
and look at that about who's mad.
Go back and look at that 9 and 2?
If you come off a 9-3 season, you buy in then. Just think you have Traylon Burks on your team. You had all that. If you buy in, you had enough that you could have used if you buy in to attract other players. You won all the trophy games, and you didn't buy in.
You know why? Because the recruiting. We wasn't even playing.
That's when NIL had just come out.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Arkansas didn't figure it out.
It's recruiting and evaluation.
They don't figure it out.
At some point, you got to look at.
You got a fan base that don't.
No, at some point, you got to look at these coaches and say, "Man,
you really think Hunter Yurchek should have to go up to a 3% increase to help out his NIL budget? That's ludicrous."
I'm telling you, maybe these coaches can't evaluate as good as we think.
These coaches have players. I mean, I've talked to a lot of kids.
I'm not saying they don't have players
that could have went to multiple schools in the SEC. It's if you don't pay, you're not going. And a lot of these schools are paying in the NIL. In the transfer portal is where these guys are making the money. Arkansas got to figure it out. It's not the kids coming out of high school. It's the NIL transfers that's making the dollars.
But Pat, before the
Yeah,
season,
they're not paying.
Before the season, we was
I like their transfers, but when you get on a football field, then you understand the money difference, and that's what I saw.
I get you.
I'm not questioning the talent, but I understand the money now.
No,
and if you don't buy in,
I understand
woo.
it too. But that's only 60%. Who the spender is who what matters. If you can have all the money in the world coming in, but if you don't know how to spend it going out, and you're still
I mean,
paying
you think
all
of
the wrong
the
players.
people in Ole Miss that aren't big money people that's helping out in that state with that NIL budget. All those guys
Pat,
that are going and doing the same jobs they're doing in the state of Arkansas,
So, Pat,
and these families are giving up NIL because they want to win as a state. They want to
Pat,
have
let me ask
something
you
to be
something.
proud
Now
about.
I'm finna put you on the spot. What was the difference between them paying Landon Jackson this year and giving Pooh Paul some more NIL?
I think Landon Jackson is a great deal. I mean, if the guy he wasn't getting it here, and Landon got it somewhere else. Pooh Paul is not the difference in defense. He's not one of the different. No, let's don't do that.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Let's don't do that.
No. I'm telling you.
I saw it for 3 years. I saw injured, banged
no.
up Pooh Paul that didn't play a full
that's
season
not what
on
I'm
this
talking
campus.
About. That's not even the point.
That's what I saw.
I'm telling you, these are the same players that Ole Miss is going to spend bags on. The same players that Arkansas
How about
has.
Pooh Paul's not their highest paid
He
NIL,
doesn't-
not in the top
he-
three.
He doesn't have to be. That's my
But
point.
Arkansas, I mean, what they did, they went and bought them a hell of a defensive line. Those are some dudes.
But
Those
Pat,
dudes will all be in the
that
NFL.
comes from recruiting and your coaches
If
evaluating
you
the team.
don't buy in, you don't get Walter Nolan and guys that come from Alabama and Ole Miss just because they want to buy into a
Pat,
coach that's not
so
a real
Pat,
good defensive
tell
coordinator.
me how you get
You went and paid that money because you tired of losing. You had to buy in. You bought those players. This is a situation I think now in college football, the highest bidder is going to win. Let's just be honest about that. Kids are going to the highest bidder.
Yes.
And that's what's happening. Arkansas is not bidding high.
They're also going to go.
I've had conversations with coaches. They're losing kids in this state for $50,000. They lost a kid from Pine Bluff last year, a $50,000 difference between them and Missouri. That just goes to show you how we're not buying in.
So did we not have the money, or we just didn't want to play that player?
They didn't want to buy in. You got to get help. You can't just in the NIL. You just can't pay players, guys. You're gonna have to have outside income. People get this income. Well, Tyson and Walmart, they can pay everything. That's not how it goes, guys.
So
I got inside sources at Ole Miss, and that's not how they're paying the NIL. But the state of Arkansas thinks that it's just these big corporations.
no,
Everybody's paying. No,
that's not even it.
they're
Because
getting state help from Tennessee. They're getting state help that they can pay that 20. Ohio's doing it. If you don't buy in as a state going forward, you're not going to win, people.
So again,
you're not going to
how
win.
did we buy into basketball, but we didn't buy into
You have John
football?
Tyson, who's best friends and has been.
But
John Tyson would
I
have.
get that.
This
but-
deal would have been done 15 years ago had we not had the wrong AD when there was no NIL.
So Pat, that's still going back to my point
So
of leadership. That you're talking about your leadership.
I think Hunter Yurchek does a great job.
You're talking about
I
your
think he does a
leadership.
great
If you're
job.
telling me people are blocking this decision that would put us in the best decision, the decision makers.
No, I know. This is what I do know. Right now, it's not good. I think with profit sharing, which should be approved here coming up in April of 25, I think Arkansas gets back into the. But then again, if the state of Arkansas, if they don't figure it out,
See, Dustin just said the comment of what I'm. Now he said Nick Saban, but that's far fetched. But he understands my point of, again, I think a coach matters. If someone like Nick Saban decided to come back to coach in Arkansas, you think they're not going to open the wallets? You think the state of Arkansas won't give every dollar to get that feeling if Nick Saban said, "Hey,
guys, let's talk about reality. But let's talk about realistic guys that'll come to the University of Arkansas. Let's stop thinking we can go out and get the best, because that's not reality. That's not going to happen. But you're not going to get the best. That's to be honest. The only reason Arkansas got basketball Calipari because he has a personal, over 20-plus year friendship with John Tyson.
So Pat,
I was in that meeting. I knew about this before he went to Memphis.
Jerry Jones. What are we talking about, Pat?
Jerry got to figure out what's going on in Dallas right now.
No,
Jerry don't have
you
time.
missing my- no,
Jerry has a
That's-
lot of
I'm-
issues to go.
That ain't what I'm
deal
talking about. What I'm
with.
talking about is the relationships that the alumni of Arkansas
Jerry
have.
has pitched in. The guys have pitched in. The Joneses,
no,
the
no.
Waltons, the Tyson.
You
You see the emblems on the field. Those things ain't just put there.
Nah, that's not what I'm
just
saying.
for fun.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the access to go get coaches. You can't be Jerry Jones and tell me you don't know 100 coaches.
If you don't know what
Come
I know,
on, Pat.
I know coaches. Coaches hear about Arkansas, how it is, the lack of NIL help. It's not that easy, guys. It's not that easy. People think you can just run. It's not that easy.
Hey, it's no.
I don't know,
it's no
but you got to think
being
about
another-
it. When you fire these coaches, you're gonna have to put a whole 85 because you're losing a whole roster. So then coaches have to look at that. It's easier to replace 13 rather than 85 plus.
I get you.
That's tough, and you have to pay all these. It's not that easy. People think that's just fire. Braylon Russell's dad has come out publicly, and said if Sam is let go, Braylon will be in the portal, and he will not be at the University of Arkansas.
But it's not about Braylon Russell. It's about
And just think of all the many that he's not just going to be the only one.
that happened. That's what happened. That's like
He's not gonna be the only one.
When a company knows they need a new CEO and people bought into this CEO.
Arkansas is
when
still
it's time to
paying.
move over.
They're still paying Bielema and Morris and all. It's just, and then you're trying to pay all that and then deal with NIL. It ain't that easy,
That's
guys.
why I say it's the decision.
It ain't that easy,
You're
guys.
proving my point
Ain't
about the
that easy,
decision
guys.
makers that are making the decisions for Arkansas don't know what they're doing. If
Well-
you're still paying unqualified coaches, who
I'm not going to say these coaches are unqualified. I'm not
So-
going to say
so-
that.
so
because
you-
a couple of
Hold on.
weeks ago, the
No,
whole state was on them when
I'm
Tennessee
not
won.
talking about this staff.
Let's don't do that.
No. That's you're missing what I'm saying. I'm not even talking about this current staff. I'm talking about the staffs and coaches we're still paying
Hey,
that
now.
that aren't no longer at University of
Hey,
Arkansas.
Brett Bielema started the lane. Well, it started with the motorcycle.
So we
And
gotta-
They
we-
haven't.
we gotta-
They didn't recover until Sam showed back up with the. Arkansas has been one of those.
Well, I won't even say that. I'll say
they've gone through the
I'll
rough
even say
times.
Chad helped with recruiting because all his 9-3 season was all Chad Morris players.
Ooh.
So what are we talking about here? So what are we really giving Sam more credit than he should have because those are all Chad Morris? Let's talk, Pat.
I think on the defensive side, they were all Bielema guys. I think a lot of that defense with the team was Bielema. You talking about just Burks and KJ were pretty much, but a lot of that team was Bielema guys that were like 4th and 5th year seniors, like my guy that's at the Jaguars.
Cam?
Those
you
guys.
talking about Monte?
Yeah. So I mean,
Montez, yeah.
they had some experience, just couldn't win. They just absolutely could not.
Well, they didn't have
win.
enough then. They didn't because even like that was what Mr. Roy was saying about. Oh, he felt like
Right.
positions, but it was like no, we just didn't have enough players around these star players when we were getting them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's real true.
We didn't have enough bullets in that gun.
Hey, we're gonna wrap it up today, man. We had a good debate. I like this. Hey, we're gonna be back on Wednesday. Hey, but check this out. Give us more comments, how you feel. Get on our page, On the Hill Media. Let us know, what are your concerns. And keep it real with us. Should Sam stay? Should Sam go? What are some of the things that can make this program better if Coach Pittman were to stay on? Share these things with us, and then we'll read them out, and we'll talk about them on the show. But, hey, we want to give a shout-out to CMAC Southern Kitchen for their sponsorship. Also, Lindsay & Associates, First Choice Protection Systems, and our very loyal one that has just made its way back to be with us, Fayetteville Glass. We want to thank those for and find sponsors to make this possible. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, just hit us up on the Hill Media. You can get that on Facebook or on the Hill Media at patj.com. Just reach out to us. We'll try to work with you. Everybody don't have the big dollars, but any dollar we can make work and see if we can work for you as well as you helping us out. Hey, but my producer Demetrius and myself, we're gonna get out of here, and like I said, we'll see you on Wednesday. It's On the Hill, and it's talking season on the Hill Media TV. You know what I